The dog slammed the toddler to the ground. Again, his parents thought he'd turned dangerous. They were completely wrong. Marcus had been a firefighter for 9 years. He understood threat assessment. He understood the difference between a dog displaying stress behavior and a dog that had crossed a line. He had seen both. When their German Shepherd Ranger knocked his son Eli to the floor for the 3rd time in 4 days, Marcus assessed the situation the same way he assessed everything, with discipline, experience, and the certainty that he knew what he was looking at. He was wrong about all of it. Eli was 22 months old, blue shirt, blonde hair, the kind of toddler who ran before he walked and climbed before he was supposed to. Ranger was 4 years old, 81 pounds of working breed dog who had lived beside this boy since the week they brought him home. For 22 months, Ranger had been unremarkable around Eli, patient when the boy grabbed his ears, still when the boy pressed his face into Ranger's neck. He slept outside the nursery door every night without being asked. Then something shifted. It started on a Tuesday. Eli was on the playroom floor building something with soft blocks, and Ranger crossed the room fast, not running, but deliberate, lowered his head, and bumped his muzzle hard into the side of Eli's face. Eli went sideways. He didn't fall completely, just rocked, but he started crying. Ranger stood over him and didn't move. Marcus came in from the hallway and pulled him back by the collar. Ranger sat down and watched the boy. His eyes didn't leave Eli's face. Strange. Marcus noted it. He moved on. The second time was Thursday morning. Eli was eating toast at the small table in the kitchen, and Ranger came up from behind, hooked his nose under Eli's arm, and lifted. Eli slid sideways off the stool. He cried. Ranger positioned his body against the boy's back, nose pressed to the top of Eli's head, inhaling in long, slow pulls. Marcus pulled the dog to the other room and closed the gate. The third time was Saturday. Eli was sitting in the living room watching a video, and Ranger walked in, lay across his legs, then rose and pressed his front paws into Eli's chest, pushing the boy flat to the carpet. Eli screamed. His wife, Danielle, ran in and saw the dog standing over their crying son, muzzle at the boy's face, not backing down. That's when Marcus called his brother, who ran a dog training facility out of the county. His brothers said what Marcus had already decided. A dog that body slams a toddler repeatedly and pins him is displaying redirected predatory behavior. Remove the dog from access to the child immediately. They put Ranger in the laundry room with his bed and his bowl. He scratched at the door for 2 hours, stopped for 20 minutes, then started again. They turned the television up. Danielle called the vet to ask about a behavioral referral. Marcus sat on the couch and felt the relief of a decision made. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The laundry room door handle rattled at 1:48 in the morning. Marcus was awake before he understood why. He lay in the dark, listening. The handle rattled again. And then came a sound Ranger had never made in 4 years. Low, sustained, rising into something with weight behind it. Not barking. Something else. Something that moved through the wall. He was on his feet. The laundry room door was shaking in its frame. He opened it. Ranger came through the gap before the door was fully open and ran, not walked, ran, down the hallway to Eli's room. Marcus followed. The nightlight was on. The mobile was still. Eli was in the crib, eyes partially open, making a sound too small for the hour. His body was still. His arms weren't moving. His lips had a color Marcus recognized from 16 years of emergency response and had never once wanted to see on his son. He picked Eli up. The body was wrong. The weight, the temperature, the limpness in the neck. He shouted for Danielle. He called 911 with the phone jammed between his shoulder and his ear while his hands checked airways. Eli's temperature registered at 104.6 degrees Fahrenheit in the ambulance. Drive Serena Okafor, pediatric emergency physician, assessed Eli within 3 minutes of arrival and told them what had happened. A febrile seizure had been building for hours. Eli's temperature had been climbing silently. No visible distress, no crying that would have woken them. just a small body with a fever accelerating in the dark. At the level his temperature reached, seizure was certain. What followed? Seizure, untreated, at that temperature, in an infant that small, depended entirely on how quickly someone intervened. Dr. Okafor looked at Marcus directly. Another 20 to 25 minutes and we would be looking at a very different outcome, she said. Then she asked what had woken him. He stood there for a moment. Then he told her about the door. She didn't look surprised. She'd heard this before. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. The veterinary behaviorist who reviewed Ranger's behavior, Dr. Adora Mensah, animal cognition specialist, wrote in her assessment that the dog had not been displaying aggression on any of the 3 occasions Marcus had witnessed. He had been performing a behavior well documented in scent detection research, physical stimulation of a subject to induce a response combined with close-range olfactory assessment. Eli's fever had been building for days before it became visible. The inflammatory compounds in his breath, the subtle shifts in his skin chemistry, the early metabolic changes of a body fighting infection. These registered to a working breed dog at concentrations below any threshold humans can detect. Ranger had been trying to rouse the boy. He had been pressing his body against him, moving him, pressing his nose to the boy's head and face, reading what he smelled getting worse. When they put him in the laundry room, he had been 20 feet from the thing he was monitoring, scratching at a door for 2 hours because the numbers were still going wrong, and no one was listening. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Eli came home in 3 days. The fever broke. He ate scrambled eggs on the second morning and pulled himself up on the bed rail like nothing had happened. Ranger was in the laundry room when they got back. Marcus opened the door without saying anything. Ranger walked down the hall, went directly to Eli's room, nosed the crib rail once, then lay down on the rug beside it. He didn't perform anything. He didn't ask for anything. He just returned to his post. Marcus sat on the floor across from him for a long time. He thought about what he had assessed and what he had missed. He thought about what it meant to be certain of something and be wrong. He reached out and put his hand on Ranger's side. The dog exhaled once, slow and long, and didn't move. What does your dog do that you still haven't been able to explain? Drop it in the comments below.